Hey you guys, it is I, Hellgear. With the final Splatfest coming up Tuesday, I want to simply talk about my performances for the Splatfest of Splatoon 2 for the past 2 years, as well as tell you my Splatfest powers. And I would like you guys to tell me in the comment section below if my Splatfest powers are on the low end, on the okay end, or on the high end. I personally think I'm on the lower end of the Splatoon 2 Splatfest powers, but I will let you decide. Now, to those of you who don't know, Splatfest power is essentially your score as you play through Splatfests. And I've been keeping track of my Splatfest power for every single Splatfest of Splatoon 2, including Splatfest 0, which was the demo Splatfest for the very game back in 2017. Now, the Splatfest power system kind of changed once we were introduced to the two types of play with your friends and then professional play, as Splatfest power only affects professional play. Keep in mind, your Splatfest power has nothing to do with your clout. Now, one of the things that I have managed to have issues with when performing in Splatfests is after reaching the Defender rank. Usually when I play Splatfests, as soon as I leave the Defender rank and hit the Champion rank, that's when my Splatfest power just starts to tank. You know, I can build it up as a fanboy and a fiend. Defender, it might teeter and totter, but as soon as I hit Champion and go into King, Splatfest power just starts to hemorrhage and I begin losing points because of constant defeats. And with the final fest coming up, I want to be able to improve on that. Now sure, one thing that can affect your performance in Splatfest power is your teammates. You know, if your team can hold it down while you're gaining Splatfest power, that's great. But don't just rely on your team, and don't try to have your team carry you as well. And that's one thing I try my best not to do. You know, having a good team is one thing, holding it down with your team is my deal. And I want to try to hold things down with my team every time I go into a Splatfest battle. Another and the most important thing is the opponents you face. Sometimes you'll just come across a really strong team over and over again, and sometimes you'll get a breather, a weak team. And it's tough for me because as I'm hemorrhaging Splatfest power with the constant losing streaks, I might be able to break it with a win every now and again, but one win doesn't erase like an 8-loss streak. So I guess I have to figure out how to read the rooms better when I do matches. You know, if it's not working, kind of switch up my headgear and shoes. And weaponry, of course. And one of the things I like to do is before Splatfest ends, and when I'm done accruing my Splatfest power, I like to write it down. And I've kept a record of it. So I managed to copy it down off of my computer right here. Now I'm not going to go through the names of all of the teams. I'm just going to tell you what team I was on and how my Splatfest power and what my Splatfest power was at the end of Splatfest, or when I finished accruing Splatfest power. So again, you guys tell me if my Splatfest powers are on the low end, on the high end, in between. So, also it should note that I'm going to tell you the Splatfest title that I managed to get in each of the Splatfests. Not just the team and power, but the title as well. So here we go. Starting off, Cake Champion, 1600.7 Splatfest power. Ketchup Champion, 1730.5 Splatfest power. Invisibility King, 1665.4 Splatfest power. Also keep in mind, and I forgot to mention this before starting, I am using the Splatfest themes for the North America Oceania region, not the European region or the Asian region. So those Splatfests, with the exception of the worldwide ones, are going to be different from your general area. Where was I? Oh, right. Werewolf King, 1736 Splatfest power. Fantasy King, 1703 Splatfest power. Socks King was actually Socks King. The Socks was, I think that was the holiday, the first holiday Splatfest, the very first Frosty Fest before we got the Frosty Fest logo. This has been my best Splatfest, my highest score. 2084.8 Splatfest power. To this very day, all my other Splatfests have not exceeded this score. Moving on, Action King, 1802.6 Splatfest power. Money King, 1764.8 Splatfest power. Egg King, 1793.6 Splatfest power. Soccer King, 1870.6 Splatfest power. Alrighty, now this next section is, I believe it's the Ninja Turtles one. I know in North America and probably Europe, they did the Ninja Turtles. I know in Japan it was Sanrio characters. So, Leonardo King, 1819.4 Splatfest power. Michelangelo King, still mad that the Michelangelo side lost, 1799 Splatfest power. So close to 1800. Donatello Champion, 1912.1 Splatfest power. Pulp King, 1868.6 Splatfest power. Octoling King, 1905.5 Splatfest power. Spoon King, 2023.6 Splatfest power. That was a good Splatfest. It didn't quite touch the socks and sweater. I think that's what it was. It was socks versus sweater Splatfest for Frosty Fest. But the spoon versus fork Splatfest, that was a really good Splatfest for me. Moving on. Retro King, 1771.7 Splatfest power. Trick Champion, 1566.6 Splatfest power. This was perhaps, this one right there, the trick one, I think that was the Halloween one. What was it called? Spooky? No, Splatoon. That's what it was called. So Splatoon was my worst score. Of all of my scores, Splatoon was my worst score. Because it was, the theme was tricks, was trick or treat. Yeah. Sucked. Splatoon was my worst score. Moving on. Guacamole King, 1879 Splatfest power. Villain Champion. This was the Smash Brothers Splatfest, or Smash Fest. To celebrate Smash Brothers, that was the worldwide one. 1960.6 Splatfest power. That was actually a really fun Splatfest. Okay. This one, Family King. That's the one that actually got the Frosty Fest logo. Unlike the socks versus sweaters, because that was Frosty Fest, but they didn't have the Frosty Fest decals. The Frosty Fest decals came with Family versus Friends. And on that one I got 1815.3 Splatfest power. Waffle King. Next up, Waffle King, 1725.3 Splatfest power. Night King, 1956 Splatfest power. Tortoise King, 1906.4 Splatfest power. That's Tortoise versus Hare. That was Springfest that happened not too long ago. Time Travel King, next up. 1648 Splatfest power. And finally, the previous Splatfest, Narwhal King, at 1677.4 Splatfest power. One of the things that you're probably noticing is I don't take too many Splatfest titles where I'm lower than King. Every now and again I'll take a champion, because you know the first couple of ones I was champion. The first two, well, Splatfest 0 and the first Splatfest, I was a champ, and then I essentially took the King title all the way to the Turtles Splatfest. Well, the end of the Turtles Splatfest at Team Donatello, where I took champion again. Then during Splatoon, I took champion again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for Smash Fest, I took champion. So of the Splatfests that we've had throughout the years the game's run of Splatoon 2, I've only taken the Splatfest title of champion 5 times. Every other time I've been a King title. So it's not that I haven't been putting in the work. Had to look around for my drink. It's hot right now. Stay cool, everybody. Stay hydrated. But in any case, with Chaos versus Order coming up, I want to be able to at least try to break the high score set all the way back in Frosty Fest 2017 at 2084.8 Splatfest power. And with essentially 4 days to do it, I have action. You know, I still don't know which of my amiibos I'm going to dance with, though. So, this is something that I've done every Splatfest. And if you've been paying attention to my Splatoon 2 series, every time I would do a Splatfest, with the exception of Splatfest 0, because you couldn't use the amiibo support on the demo of the game, I would take a break. And in that break, I'm dancing with one of my amiibos, my Splatoon-themed amiibos. For the first couple of amiibos, actually not the first couple of amiibos, for most of the Splatoon 2 series, I was dancing with my Splatoon Inkling Boy and Inkling Girl amiibos. Mainly because day one when this came out, you couldn't get the Splatoon 2 Inkling Boy, Girl, and Squid amiibos anywhere. And I recently managed to find Splatoon 2 Inkling Boy, Girl, and Squid amiibos, and mine are the Japanese amiibos. But when I did get the Octoling amiibos, I danced with them too. So it was nice to know. So in case anybody is wondering, I haven't figured out who to dance with for the final fest, for Splatocalypse. So you tell me, which of my Splatoon amiibos should I dance with? Should I dance with the Inkling Boy from Splatoon 1, the Inkling Girl from Splatoon 1, the Inkling Boy from Splatoon 2, the Inkling Girl from Splatoon 2, the Octoling Boy, or the Octoling Girl? Please tell me in the comment section below who you want me to dance with. Also, tell me in the comment section below how my Splatfest power is working here. Also, if you have any suggestions on how I could improve my battles during Splatfest between Champion to King right after Defender, where I take the most hits, let me know in the comment section below. But that's all the time I'm going to take spooning off about Splatfests. Again, if you haven't picked your side for Splatoon 2's Final Fest, aka Splatocalypse, now would be a good time to start doing it. Because 4 days is a long time to go in there on a blank Splatoon 2 Splatfest team. Remember, the teams are Chaos versus Order. But for now, I take my goose from the oven because I'm done. I'll be looking forward to your comments in the comment section below, and thank you for hearing me out.